Tonight we begin with something a little more grim than factories and fog. We're diving into the heart of Britain's Victorian solution to poverty, a place designed not to help, but to humiliate, to break, and to deter. Forget the romanticized Dickensian versions. The truth is, you wouldn't last a single day inside a Victorian workhouse. So, before we step inside, if you enjoy exploring the darker corners of history, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It truly helps us keep making these deep dives. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see our global community. Now dim the lights and let's begin our journey together. Congratulations. You've just shuffled to a halt before a towering, soot-blackened brick wall. The iron gate ahead of you is more like a portcullis, all sharp points and rust-streaked bars. It smells like industrial defeat, a thick cocktail of coal smoke, cheap disinfectant, and something sour and human. This is your last moment of freedom, such as it was. You're here because you have nowhere else to go. Maybe the factory let you go. Maybe the seasonal work dried up. Maybe you're just old and slow, and the world has decided it's done with you. Whatever the reason, you've just traded the unpredictable mercy of the street for the meticulously engineered misery of the workhouse. The man standing before you is the porter. He isn't a welcoming committee. He's a jailer in a cheap uniform, holding a ledger like it's a book of judgments. He doesn't look at your face. He looks at your clothes, your posture, the dirt under your nails. He's assessing your worth, which, according to this ledger, is less than zero. You are now a liability, a problem to be processed. Name? He barks, the word short and sharp like a slap. You mumble it. He writes it down, the scratch of his nib sounding unnaturally loud. Parish of settlement. This is the crucial question. Where do you legally belong? If you can't prove it's here, in this parish, they can send you walking for days to a place you might not have seen in a decade. You pray your answer is the right one. He grunts, makes a note. You've passed the first arbitrary test. For now, with a sound that echoes into your very soul, the iron gate swings open. Not wide, just enough to admit one person at a time. It's not an invitation, it's an ingestion. You step through, and the gate clangs shut behind you with a finality that vibrates through the cobblestones under your thin shoes. That sound, the click of the lock, is the sound of your old life ending. There is no going back. The rule is, once you're in, you stay in for at least 24 hours. Most stay far, far longer. Some never leave. You're now in a narrow paved courtyard, a killing zone between the outer wall and the main building. The air is colder here, trapped between the high walls. You can feel the eyes on you from the windows above, blank, curtainless windows that look like dead eyes. The other inmates, the ones already broken in, are watching. They don't stare with curiosity. It's a hollow, empty gaze. They're just noting the new stock. The porter gestures with his thumb towards a heavy oak door. Receiving ward, he says, as if those two words explain everything. You push the door open and enter a room that smells powerfully of carbolic soap and damp wool. This is where they strip you down, not just your clothes, your identity, your humanity. Waiting for you is the relieving officer and the matron. He has a face that looks like it was carved from a block of wood, all hard lines and no warmth. She looks at you like you're a stain on her freshly scrubbed floor. There are no pleasantries, no welcome. This is an administrative procedure, and you are the faulty product. Place your personal effects on the table, the officer says, his voice flat. You look at the small bundle you carry, the last remnants of your life outside. A spare shirt, maybe a locket with a picture of your wife, a child's wooden toy, a pocket knife. Pathetic treasures, but they're yours. You lay them on the rough wood. He doesn't even look at them. He pushes a printed form towards you. It's the admission paper. By signing it, you agree to the rules of the house. You agree to be worked. You agree to be disciplined. You agree to your own obliteration. Your hand trembles as you pick up the pen. It's not a signature, it's a surrender. The ink seals your fate. From this moment on, you are no longer a person. You are a pauper, an inmate, a number. The matron points to a rough wooden bench. Sit. Undress. There's no privacy, of course. Privacy is a luxury for those who can afford walls. You strip off your worn, familiar clothes, the ones that hold the shape of your body and the smell of your life. They're taken from you, bundled up, and put aside for fumigation. You'll get them back if you ever leave, but they won't feel like yours anymore. They'll smell of the workhouse. You're handed a coarse, shapeless uniform made of rough, scratchy material. It's ill-fitting, deliberately so. The same uniform is worn by everyone. It's designed to remove any trace of individuality. Men, women, the elderly, the young, all reduced to the same drab grey appearance. Your name is gone, replaced by your number. Your clothes are gone, replaced by this uniform. Your past is gone. There is only the here and now. Next, the bath. This isn't for your comfort, it's for the house's hygiene. You're plunged into a tub of cold or lukewarm water, often shared with others before you, and scrubbed down with harsh soap that scrapes your skin raw. It's a ritual of purification, washing away the last remnants of the outside world, baptizing you into this new, bleak existence. Once you're clean, the medical officer gives you a cursory inspection. He's not looking to heal you, he's classifying you. Able-bodied, you'll be put to hard labor. Infirm, you'll be sent to the sick ward, a place many fear more than the work itself. Pregnant, elderly, a child, each has their designated, segregated place within this rigid system. The most brutal part of this admission is the separation. If you arrived with your family, this is where you say goodbye. Husbands are sent to the men's wing, wives to the women's. Children over the age of 7 are sent to the children's dormitories, separated from their parents. Families, the one source of comfort you might have had left, are deliberately torn apart. The system was designed to break all personal bonds, fostering a sense of total isolation. You might not see your spouse or children for weeks, except perhaps for a brief silent moment during Sunday chapel. Now you are officially an inmate. You're led through a maze of cold, echoing corridors. The architecture itself is a weapon. Long, straight lines, locked doors, and barred windows, all designed for surveillance and control. You're taken to the dormitory. It's a vast, cold room, lined with rows of simple, hard beds, or even just wooden planks. The air is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies and despair. There are no decorations, no personal space, just row upon row of sleeping paupers. Your first meal in the workhouse is a lesson in itself. You're served a bowl of gruel, a thin, watery porridge, often made from oatmeal or flour. It's bland, barely nutritious, and always the same. The diet is deliberately monotonous and meager, just enough to keep you alive and able to work, but never enough to make you feel satisfied. This wasn't about saving money, it was about punishment. Hunger was a tool of control. As you lie on your hard bed that first night, surrounded by the coughing and whimpering of strangers, the reality sinks in. The gates are locked, your family is gone, your identity has been erased. The only thing you have to look forward to is the bell that will wake you before dawn for a day of relentless, soul-crushing labor. This is your new life, and the workhouse has only just begun to break you. This is the end of day 1. What came next was a routine of crushing labor and psychological torment designed to make any life, even one of poverty on the streets, seem preferable. The workhouse wasn't a safety net, it was a threat. Imagine, just for a moment, being stripped of everything that makes you, not just your home or your job, but the very clothes on your back, the last shred of your identity. This was the stark reality for millions who entered the Victorian workhouse. Let's step back in time and walk through that harrowing first day, a process designed not for charity, but for control. After the initial interrogation, the true violation began. The matron, a figure of absolute authority, would point to a screen in a corner. Behind there, remove everything. Can you feel that hesitation, that final, futile grasp at dignity? But her eyes would narrow, and compliance was the only option. Off comes the worn-out coat, the patched trousers, the threadbare shirt, and even the undergarments. Everything. You'd be left standing there, shivering and exposed in a cold, damp room. In that moment, you cease to be a person, a parent, a baker, a friend. You become a body, a problem to be catalogued. An officer would make notes, speaking them aloud as he writes, each word a hammer blow against your spirit. Subject is male, approximately 40 years of age, shows signs of malnutrition, lice present. Your clothes, your last connection to your former life, are unceremoniously stuffed into a sack by a porter. They promise to store them, to return them when you leave, but a sinking feeling tells you the truth. You will never see them again. The person who walked through that gate is already gone. Then comes the new identity. The matron hands you a coarse, grey woolen uniform. It scratches your skin like 1,000 tiny needles. It's a one-size-fits-nobody garment, hanging loose in some places, straining in others. No buttons, only ties, no pockets, no way to carry even a memory. This is the uniform of shame, designed to be uncomfortable, to mark you as an inmate, a pauper. Next, a pair of crude wooden clogs are thrust at you, no socks. They rub against your heels with every step, the pain starting almost immediately. Your entire worldly allotment is completed with a single, thin, scratchy blanket. This is all you have now. But the humiliation isn't over. The porter then leads you to an adjacent room. A bored-looking attendant waits with strong soap and a cold, relentless hose. This bathing ritual isn't about cleanliness, it's about submission. The water is icy, a brutal shock that steals your breath. The harsh soap stings your eyes and any small cuts on your skin. You are scrubbed raw, not washed. It's a cleansing of your past, a baptism into a new life of regulated misery. As you stand there, dripping and trembling in your new, damp, itchy uniform, the first and most important rule of the workhouse becomes crystal clear. You are no longer a person. You are a unit, a number, a cost to be minimized. And the day has only just begun. The workhouse system was a complex and often brutal part of history, shaping society in ways we still see today. After the brutal welcome in the receiving ward, you're now dressed in what the workhouse calls charity. The porter gives you a shove, and you stumble forward in your new wooden clogs, the sound echoing down the stone corridor like a clumsy puppet. This isn't just clothing, it's a costume for a play where everyone is miserable and the script is written by a committee of misanthropes. Let's start with the fabric. It's wool, but not the kind you'd find in a gentleman's overcoat. This is scrap wool, coarse and thick, seemingly woven with spite and disappointment. It hasn't been softened by any process that involves care. It's designed to be durable, not comfortable, to survive years of wear and countless chemical baths, not to provide any warmth or solace. From the moment it touches your skin, it itches. Not a mild, distracting tickle, but a deep, crawling, persistent itch that seems to come from the very fibers themselves. It's in places you can't possibly scratch in public. The small of your back, behind your knees, your inner arms. You try to shift your shoulders, a subtle rub against the inside of the rough tunic. It doesn't help. The itch just moves, migrating to a new patch of skin, a fresh territory of annoyance. This is all by design. Discomfort is a constant reminder. It keeps you aware of your station, your place, your punishment for the crime of being poor. You are never meant to forget you're wearing this uniform, not even for a second. The color is a utilitarian sludge grey. It's the colour of ashes, of fog, of a sky that has given up on ever being blue again. There's no vibrancy, no life in this colour. It absorbs the dim light of the workhouse, making you a walking shadow, a blot on the landscape. In the drab yards and bleached wash walls of the institution, you just blend into a monochrome nightmare. It's a visual declaration of your status. Everyone outside these walls, from the street sweeper to the factory owner, wears clothes with some variation, some personality. A brightly coloured neckerchief, a patched but unique waistcoat, perhaps a flower in a buttonhole. You have no such privileges. Your individuality has been legislated out of existence. You look like every other man in here. A sea of grey, shuffling anonymity. It makes it easier for the masters to see you not as people, but as a group, a problem to be managed. It also makes it impossible to stand out, to be noticed for anything other than breaking the rules. And the fit. Oh, the fit. The workhouse has a limited range of sizes, usually just small, medium, and large, concepts defined by someone who has clearly never seen a human body. You're either swimming in the tunic, the sleeves hanging past your fingertips, the collar gaping wide enough to let in a perpetual draft. Or the trousers are so tight they threaten to split at the thigh with every step, the rough seam chafing your skin raw. There are no belts, only bits of coarse tape to tie everything shut. Nothing fits because you are not a person. You are a container for labour. The clothes are meant to cover you barely and allow for the limited range of motion required for your tasks. That's it. The constant readjustment, hiking up, slipping trousers, pulling down a ridiculously short jacket. It's a perpetual humiliating dance. You can never stand still and feel put together. You are always in a state of dishevelment, which reinforces the feeling of being less than, of being slovenly even when the system itself forces it upon you. Then there are the clogs. They're not shoes. They are wooden soles with stiff, unyielding leather tops. There's no arch support, no cushioning. Walking in them is a clumsy, clacking affair. Clack, 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 clack. The sound announces your presence everywhere you go, a sonic brand of your pauper status. Within an hour, your heels are rubbed raw. Blisters form, pop, and form again. The skin breaks, and the rough wool of your non-existent socks grinds into the open wound. Every step is a small jolt of pain. You develop a strange, limping gait to minimize the pressure on the worst spots. Everyone else does too. You all walk the same painful walk, a herd of the injured and uncomfortable, and God help you if you have to run, or even move quickly. The clogs are slippery on stone floors and treacherous on muddy grounds. A twisted ankle isn't just painful, it's a catastrophe. If you can't work, you get less food. If you can't work consistently, you face punishment. Your very footwear is a trap. But the psychological impact is even sharper than the physical discomfort. You catch your reflection in a window pane, and a stranger stares back. A grey, shapeless, shambling figure. You don't recognize yourself, the person you were, the one who had a favourite waistcoat, who took pride in a well-polished boot, who maybe saved for a nice scarf for a Sunday stroll. That person is gone, erased under a layer of institutional wool. This uniform is a constant tactile reminder that you belong to the parish now. Your body, your time, your labour are not your own. You have been stripped of your past and issued a present of pure, unadulterated obligation. There's a reason they take your clothes away. It's not just about lice or disease. It's about breaking your spirit. Your old clothes held memories. This uniform only holds the promise of the day's grind. And everyone wears a version of this. The women are in identical drab dresses and aprons, their hair hidden under plain caps, their femininity and individuality scrubbed away. The children are miniature versions of the adults, dressed in the same sad grey, their youth and potential stifled before they can even bloom. The elderly swim in their uniforms, the fabric hanging off their frail frames like a shroud. You are all part of the same machine, and the uniform is the standard issue part you've all been fitted with. It makes solidarity difficult. How do you form a bond with a man when you can't even tell him apart from the 20 other grey shapes in the room? The system has atomized you, turned you into a solitary unit of misery, isolated by the very fabric you wear. You are alone, in a crowd of people dressed exactly like you, itching, chafing and clacking your way towards the first meal of the day, which we both know isn't going to make anything better. The clack and shuffle of grey, uniformed figures echoes down the stark, cold corridor. You're herded from the receiving ward, your ill-fitting shoes already rubbing blisters onto your feet. You are part of a single miserable organism, shuffling towards its next source of pain. The porter halts before a heavy, dark-stained door. He doesn't need to speak. The dread seeping from the wood is a language all its own. This is the master's office. This is where you meet the man who is God, judge, and jailer within these imposing walls. With a groan that suggests it resents being disturbed, the door swings inward. You step into a room that's a study in calculated power. It isn't large, but it feels immense because of what it contains. The air is still and cold, carrying the scent of old paper, ink, and beeswax. A single high window admits a thin, weak light that does nothing to warm the space. It only illuminates the dust motes, dancing like tiny, frantic souls above a large, pristine desk. And behind that desk sits the master. He doesn't look up as you and the others file in. He's finishing an entry in a large leather-bound ledger, his pen moving with a slow, precise scratch. This is your first lesson. Your time is his time. You will wait on his convenience. He's a man of middling years, dressed in a dark, well-tailored suit, a stark and deliberate contrast to your own shapeless sackcloth. He isn't a large man, but he possesses an aura of absolute authority that seems to fill the room. His face is a mask of calm disinterest, but his eyes, when he finally lifts them, are the color of a winter sky and just as warm. They sweep over your group, not seeing people but inventory, problems, statistics. He places his pen down carefully into a precise groove on the inkstand. The sound is tiny, but in the oppressive silence, it's as loud as a gavel. "You are here," he begins, his voice a low, flat monotone, entirely devoid of emotion, "because the parish has determined you are destitute. You have failed to provide for yourselves." He doesn't say it with accusation, but as a simple statement of fact, like noting the sky is grey. This institution is not a hotel. It is not a refuge for the indolent. It is a test of your willingness to work. Your stay here is conditional upon your obedience, your industry, and your conformity. He lets the words hang in the cold air. Obedience, industry, conformity. These are the new pillars of your existence, more important than kindness, family, or hope. He then lifts a printed sheet from his desk. The rules. It's a single page, densely packed with small type. This document is the law of your new world, and he is its prophet. He doesn't read all of it, he doesn't have to. He just highlights the tenets designed to break your spirit. "Communication between the sexes is strictly prohibited," he states, his eyes flicking between the men and women in your group. "You will eat in segregated dining halls. You will work in segregated yards. You will sleep in segregated dormitories. There will be no talking during meals. There will be no talking during work unless it pertains directly to the task." He pauses, letting the full weight of that isolation sink in. If you came here with a wife, a sister, or a mother, they are now gone. You might catch glimpses of them across a courtyard, a ghost in a grey dress, but you cannot speak to them, cannot touch them, cannot offer a single word of comfort. The family unit, the last bastion of human connection, is systematically dismantled right at the gate. Smoking, the possession of tobacco or any other stimulant, is forbidden. A few of the men beside you visibly deflate. That one small, cheap comfort, The only thing that could make a 5-minute break tolerable is now contraband. Gambling of any kind is forbidden. No cards, no dice, not even betting on which raindrop will reach the bottom of the window first. You are not permitted to leave the workhouse grounds for any reason. You will not receive visitors. The walls are no longer just brick and mortar. They are a principle. You are completely cut off from the entire world. The master's voice continues, a relentless, dry recitation of deprivation. You will rise at the bell. You will work at the bell. You will eat at the bell. You will attend chapel at the bell. You will retire at the bell. Your life is now just a series of bells, and you will jump to their sound. Then he gets to the heart of the matter, the work. Able-bodied paupers will be set to tasks commensurate with their strength, stone breaking, oakum picking, bone crushing, the mill. He says the words like items on a grocery list. They are, in fact, a list of torments. Your output will be measured. It will be recorded. He taps the ledger in front of him. Failure to meet the daily task will result in a reduction of rations. He doesn't say what the task is. The arbitrariness is the point. The task is whatever he and the taskmaster decide it is today. It is always just beyond what you can comfortably achieve. It is designed to make you fail, to justify the constant state of punishment you now find yourself in. Idleness, he says, and for the first time, his voice gains a faint, almost imperceptible edge, is a sin against the ratepayers. It will not be tolerated. Infractions of any rule will be met with punishment. The punishment book, he gestures to a second, smaller ledger on a shelf behind him, a sinister twin to the first, is always open. You can almost see its pages, filled with the names of those who talked, who smoked, who failed to break enough stone. You imagine your own name being added to it. The thought is a cold, tightening knot in your stomach. He finishes. He looks at you all one last time, his gaze sweeping over your scared, confused faces. There is no compassion in his eyes. There is only the calm satisfaction of a system functioning exactly as it was designed. He picks up his pen again. A clear dismissal. The audience is over. The porter ushers you back into the corridor. The heavy door closes behind you, and the click of the latch sounds like the cocking of a gun. You have been warned. You have been catalogued. You have been stripped of every conceivable freedom. The rules are not for order, they are for control, and you now understand with a chilling clarity that in this place the smallest misstep, a whispered word, a moment of rest, a longing glance across a room, is an act of rebellion. And rebellion has its own, very specific entry in the punishment book. The master's words still echo in the cold, silent space of your mind as the porter herds your group up a narrow stone staircase. The clacking of your clogs on the steps is a jarring, clumsy percussion that matches the rhythm of your dread. Each step is a little harder than the last, the raw blisters on your heels screaming in protest. You are being taken to where you will supposedly rest, to the place you will call a bed. But you already know it won't be a place of comfort. It will be another instrument of control. The dormitory is a long, cavernous room on the upper floor, a barracks for the broken. The first thing that hits you is the smell. It's a thick, complex aroma that layers over the ever-present carbolic soap. It's the smell of unwashed bodies that no amount of harsh soap can fully cleanse, of damp wool that never truly dries, of the faint, sweet, sour scent of sickness, and underlying it all, the pungent ammonia sharpness of the communal chamber pot sitting in the corner. The air is cold and still, heavy with the exhalations of dozens of men. There are no fires here, no warmth beyond what your own body can generate. A single barred window at the far end offers a sliver of the grey outside world, but no comfort. And then you see the beds, though you can't really call them beds. They are iron-framed cots, lined up with military precision along the length of the room. each one exactly 2 feet from its neighbor. There is no privacy here, not a curtain, not a screen, not a single locker to call your own. You are on display even in your sleep. The mattress is a thin, coarse sack stuffed with something that crackles unpleasantly when you press on it. Straw, most likely, and not fresh straw either. It's been flattened by the weight of countless previous occupants, compressed into a lumpy, unforgiving board that offers all the comfort of sleeping on a bag of gravel. At the foot of each cot lies a single, rough blanket, identical to the one you were issued earlier. It is utterly insufficient against the creeping cold of the night. You already know you will sleep in your uniform. The itchy wool will be your only additional layer against the chill. You're assigned a cot with a simple point of the porter's finger. Number 27, that is your new address. Your name is irrelevant here. You are Bed 27. You sit on the edge of the thin mattress and the iron frame groans in protest. The man in bed 26 is already lying down, facing the wall, his body curled into a tight ball. He doesn't acknowledge you. No one does. Conversation is forbidden, but even if it weren't, the exhaustion and despair are a palpable force that stifles all speech. You look down the long row of identical cots, a perspective of repeating miseries stretching into the gloom. Every man is an island of quiet suffering, adrift in a grey sea of regulation and regret. The only light comes from a single feeble gas jet on the wall near the door. Its hiss is a constant whispering companion to the sounds of the night. It casts long, dancing shadows that make the sleeping forms look like corpses laid out after a battle. When this light is extinguished at the final bell, the darkness will be absolute, a thick, smothering blackness that feels like being buried alive. There are no night lights, no comfort in the dark. Only the sounds will remain, and the sounds are a symphony of despair. The rustle of straw as men toss and turn, trying to find a position that doesn't press a sharp lump into their spine. The chorus of coughs, deep, racking, tubercular coughs that echo in the stillness. The sound of lungs slowly failing. The sniffles, the groans, the occasional half-stifled sob from a man dreaming of his family. And the scratching, the constant, faint, maddening scratching of vermin in the walls, and you soon realize with a sinking horror in the straw of your own mattress. You lie down. The straw, stuffing, crackles like a small fire beneath you, each movement announcing your restlessness to the entire room. The blanket is as effective as a sheet of paper. The cold seeps up from the floorboards and down from the high, uninsulated ceiling. You pull your knees to your chest, trying to conserve body heat, becoming a human ball of misery. This is where they break you, in the silent, lonely hours of the night. This is when the full weight of your situation crashes down. The master's rules, the itchy uniform, the blistered feet, the aching hunger. It all converges here in the dark, on this pathetic excuse for a bed. There is no escape, not even in sleep. Your dreams, if you are lucky enough to have any, will be of warmth and food, and waking up will be a fresh horror every single time. The man in the next cot begins to mutter in his sleep, a low, incoherent stream of pleas and names. You can't make out the words, but the tone is one of pure, unadulterated terror. No one stirs to comfort him. This is normal. This is every night. You stare into the blackness above you, listening to this symphony of human ruin, and you understand that the dormitory isn't for sleeping. It's for lying awake and contemplating the utter hopelessness of your existence. The bell for wake-up is still hours away, but you already know you won't be sleeping. You will simply wait, shivering and scratching, for the next bell to ring, signaling the start of another day in this cycle of meticulously designed hell. The night is the longest shift of all. The grim reality of the Victorian workhouse was a deliberate system, designed not just to house the poor, but to deter them from seeking help. The conditions you've just experienced, the cold, the hunger, the lack of privacy, and the psychological torment, were seen as necessary evils to encourage self-reliance. For millions, this wasn't a safety net. It was a punishment for the crime of poverty. It's a chilling chapter of our past, reminding us of the importance of compassion and dignity for all. The night wasn't a respite. It was just a long, shivering wait for this moment. You've just managed to fall into a fitful, cold, numb doze when a sound tears through the dormitory. It's so violent it feels like a physical blow to the head. It's the bell, not a gentle chime, but a frantic, deafening clang that hammers directly into your brain. It doesn't ring, it screams. It screams that the night is over, that your body is no longer your own, that the master's time has begun. There's no gentle awakening here. It's a brutal auditory eviction from whatever small peace you found. The man in the next cot is already moving, a grey ghost in the pre-dawn blackness, swinging his legs over the side of the iron frame with a groan that's part pain, part ritual. Everyone is moving. There is no hesitation. To be slow is to be noticed. To be noticed is to be punished. You fumble in the dark, your fingers stiff with cold, your mind still tangled in the shreds of a dream about warmth. Your eyes aren't even properly open, but your body is already obeying. The bell doesn't ask, it commands. You stand on the cold stone floor, the shock of it jolting up your spine, and join the silent shuffling line already forming at the door. No one speaks. The only sounds are the clatter of wooden clogs on stone and the symphony of coughs that the night has nurtured in every chest. The porter is there, holding a lantern that casts wild, leaping shadows. His face is a stone mask in the flickering light. He leads the line of grey men down the staircase, a herd moving as one sluggish, miserable entity. You aren't being led to breakfast. You're being led to the first inspection. You file into the main yard, the cold morning air a slap in the face. It's still dark, the sky a deep, unforgiving purple. A frost coats the cobblestones, making them slick. You stand in your assigned rows, shivering uncontrollably in your thin uniform, your breath pluming in the icy air. This is the morning parade. This is where they count their stock, ensuring nothing has gone missing in the night. The master emerges, wrapped in a thick, warm coat, a stark contrast to your own trembling state. He doesn't shiver. He is insulated by authority and wool. He walks slowly down the lines, his eyes scanning the rows of faces. He's not looking for individuals. He's looking for defects. A man swaying on his feet, dizzy with hunger. A man whose cough is too loud, too disruptive. A man with an untied tape on his uniform. The master stops before an elderly man whose hands are shaking violently, maybe from the cold, maybe from Parkinson's, maybe both. The master says nothing. He simply makes a note in a small book he carries. The man looks down at his feet, a fresh wave of despair rolling off him. He knows what that note means. Reduced rations, solitary, the oakum-picking room. The not knowing is part of the punishment. The master reaches the end of the line, gives a curt nod to the porter, and turns on his heel. The inspection is over. The bell clangs again, a single, sharp, dismissive note. This is the signal for the next phase. You are herded not towards food, but towards the washroom. It's a bleak, stone-floored room with a single long trough of cold water fed by a pipe. There are no towels. There is no soap. You're expected to splash the biting, numbing water on your face and hands. It's less about hygiene and more about shock therapy. A final, brutal reminder that comfort is a sin. The water is so cold it makes your teeth ache. It doesn't wake you up. It bludgeons you into a state of raw, tingling alertness. From there, it's a quick, shambling walk to the latrines. These are open trenches in another cold outbuilding, a place that stings your eyes and chokes your throat with its potent ammoniac stink. There is no privacy, just a row of men squatting over a hole, their heads bowed in shared humiliation. You have a minute, maybe two. The porter stands by the door, a silent timer. Then, another bell. There's always another bell. This one calls you to chapel. You're marched into a cold, barren room with hard wooden benches. A visiting clergyman reads passages about the virtues of hard work and the sins of idleness. His voice, a monotonous drone that seems to amplify your hunger and fatigue. This isn't spiritual nourishment. It's ideological reinforcement. You are poor because you are lazy. You are here to be corrected. You sit on the unforgiving wood, your stomach gnawing at itself, and you try not to faint. The service ends without an amen. You're filed out, your body moving on autopilot now, a puppet on the strings of the bell. The routine is already carving grooves into your soul. You don't think, you just move. You are a component in a machine, and the bell is the lever that engages you. Finally, after what feels like an eternity of chilled, pointless activity, you are herded towards the dining hall. The smell is not of food, but of steam and disappointment. This is your reward for surviving the first hour of the day. You are about to receive your breakfast, and you already know, with a certainty that sits like a stone in your gut, that it will do nothing to fill the void the bell has carved out inside you. The Victorian workhouse system was designed to be a deterrent, a place so harsh that people would do anything to avoid it. But for millions, it was the only option. This brutal morning routine was just the beginning of a long, grueling day, designed to break the body and the spirit. What came next was a day of monotonous, often pointless labor. The chapel bell herds you, not towards salvation, but into another kind of punishment, the dining hall. You shuffle forward, a grey, silent line of ghosts, your stomach a tight, empty fist clenched in anticipation. The room is as stark as all the others, long tables, backless benches, all arranged with a cold, soulless precision. The air is thick with steam, but it carries no comforting aroma of food, just the depressing smell of boiled water and something vaguely grain-like. This is it, your reward for surviving the night and the morning's brutal rituals, your first meal of the day, and the sight of it is enough to make your empty stomach churn. You find your spot on a hard wooden bench. The men on either side are already staring, their eyes hollow, fixed on the empty space before them. There's no chatter, no clinking of cutlery, no sign of life. The rule of silence is absolute here, enforced by patrolling officers who move like wolves circling a weary herd. Then the servers arrive. They're inmates too, their faces as blank as the walls, carrying large, steaming metal pails. They move down the line, doling out breakfast with a swift, indifferent ladle. What slops into your wooden bowl is called gruel. But that word feels too kind, too nostalgic. This is something else entirely. It's a thin, pale, greyish liquid, the consistency of dirty dishwater, with a few sad, swollen grains of oatmeal floating in it. It's like the ghost of porridge, a pathetic imitation of real food. There is no salt, no sugar, no milk, just boiled oatmeal and water. The steam rising from it has a faint papery smell, like wet cardboard. You pick up your spoon, a crude tin thing. The gruel slides right off it, offering no resistance. It's a liquid pretending to be solid. You bring the first spoonful to your mouth. The heat is a shock, scalding hot on your tongue, yet it provides no warmth to your core. The taste is nothing. It's the culinary embodiment of beige, a bland, starchy paste that coats your mouth without offering any nourishment. There's a faint, bitter aftertaste from the metal pail it was cooked in. You force it down. It doesn't satisfy hunger. It just acknowledges it. It's a placeholder for food, a cruel reminder of what a real meal is supposed to be. Each spoonful is a chore, a battle against your own gag reflex as the monotonous wallpaper paste texture and total lack of flavor overwhelm your senses. You eat not for pleasure, not even for satisfaction, but out of a desperate animal need to put something, anything, into your aching stomach. Alongside the gruel, you get your daily bread. It's a small, dense brown brick. It feels less baked and more fossilized. The crust is tough and leathery, requiring a serious effort just to tear with your teeth. Inside, it's damp and clammy, filled with dubious specks you pray are just bran and not something with more legs. You try dunking a piece into the gruel, hoping to soften it, but the bread just absorbs the hot water, becoming a warm, soggy lump that's somehow even less appealing than before. You chew, and you chew, and you chew. Your jaw aches with the effort. This isn't food, it's a jaw exercise, a test of dental fortitude. It's designed to be filling, not nutritious. It will sit in your gut like a stone, a dull, heavy weight that does nothing to energize you for the day of crushing labor that lies ahead. You look at the men around you. They're hunched over their bowls, shoveling the gruel into their mouths with a rapid, mechanical efficiency. They aren't tasting it, they're just performing a function, fueling the machine. Their eyes are empty. This isn't a meal, it's a refueling stop on the production line of misery. You see one man, his hands trembling, maybe from age, maybe from illness, accidentally slop a tiny bit of gruel onto the table. An officer is on him in seconds. There's no shouting, just a sharp, pointed finger at the spill and a cold, silent stare. The man's face flushes with a shame that's more painful to watch than any physical punishment. He quickly uses a piece of his bread to dab up the spill and eats it, his head bowed so low his forehead almost touches the table. You finish your gruel. You scrape the bowl until the tin spoon screeches against the wood, trying to get every last pathetic smear of sustenance. The bread is gone. You look down at your empty bowl. The hunger, which was a sharp, gnawing pain before, has changed. It's now a different, deeper ache, a dull, heavy emptiness, a hollow confirmation that your body has been acknowledged but not fed. You feel bloated yet starving, weighted down yet weak. This breakfast has taken the edge off the screaming need, but it has replaced it with a leaden feeling of nutritional defeat. You've consumed calories, but you haven't received any energy. You've eaten, but you are not full. You are simply less empty. And you know with a certainty that chills you more than the dormitory cold, that you will be far, far hungrier by the time the dinner bell rings. This was just the first pathetic act in a day-long drama of starvation. The gruel sits in your stomach, a cold, unsatisfying paste. You're herded from the silent dining hall back into the main yard. The brief, illusory unity of the meal is gone in an instant. The master is there again, standing with a cold stillness that makes the morning air feel even sharper. This isn't another inspection. This is the moment you knew was coming, the one the rules promised. The separation. The final dismantling of everything you were before you walked through that gate. The porter and other officers begin moving through the crowd, not with violence, but with a terrifying, practiced efficiency. They are sorting human beings. Men to the right wall, women to the left, children to the receiving ward. The commands are short, sharp. It's like watching a butcher organize cuts of meat. A low murmur of anguish ripples through the group, quickly stifled by the grim faces of the officers. This is the very heart of the workhouse's cruel philosophy. Strip away all support, isolate the individual, make poverty so unbearable that anyone would rather starve outside than seek relief inside. Then you see him, a man you stood in line with during admission. He came in with his wife and a small daughter, no more than 5 years old, clutching a ragged cloth doll. An officer steps between them. You, to the right. You two, to the left. Now. The man's face, already pale, turns the color of chalk. His wife lets out a small, choked sound like a wounded animal and clutches the little girl tighter. The child, sensing the seismic shift in her universe, begins to cry. A thin, reedy wail that cuts through the morning air. The man takes a half-step towards them, a primal, protective instinct overriding the master's rules. An officer immediately blocks his path, a club held loosely but prominently at his side. The man stops. His shoulders slump. He looks at his wife, a single, desperate glance that contains a lifetime of shared struggles, and now a chasm of separation. Then he turns and shuffles towards the right-hand wall, his body looking physically broken. Your own group is being divided. If you came in alone, you feel a bizarre, guilty sense of relief. If you didn't, your moment of horror is now. You are pushed towards the men's side. You glance over your shoulder and see a woman, your sister, your wife, your mother, being steered firmly in the opposite direction. Her eyes meet yours for a split second, wide with terror, before she is turned away and absorbed into the grey mass of women. There are no goodbyes, no final touches, no whispered words of comfort. The rupture is clean, surgical, and absolute. The sound of weeping is now unmistakable, coming from both sides of the yard, a dissonant choir of grief. The officers' faces remain impassive. They see this every day. It is routine, the most profound human connections, severed with the casual efficiency of sorting mail. The children are the most heartbreaking. The ones old enough to understand are screaming, clinging to their mother's skirts, their small fingers being pried loose by unsentimental hands. The infants are simply carried away, wailing into the institutional gloom. They're taken to the children's ward, where they will be raised by the system, taught a trade, and taught to forget the parents who failed them. You see a little boy, maybe 7, fighting against the grip of a porter, his small clogs kicking uselessly at the air. "I want my mam! I want my mam!" he shrieks, his voice raw with a panic that is entirely justified. His mother is on the other side of the yard, her hands clamped over her mouth, her body shaking with sobs she cannot let out. She is powerless. You are all powerless, and this is the Master's true genius. He hasn't just separated you from your family, he has weaponized your love for them. Every rule you break, every moment of idleness, every failed task now carries an extra weight. It could mean a reduction in rations not just for you, but for them on the other side of the wall. It could mean you are denied the one thing you now live for. The occasional, sanctioned, silent glimpse of them across a courtyard during Sunday exercise. You will spend your days wondering if they are warm enough, if they are getting their gruel, if your daughter is still crying for you. Your love, which should be a source of strength, becomes a source of constant, gnawing anxiety. It is a leash, and the Master holds the other end. The sorting is complete. The yard is now divided into 2 distinct groups, men and women, staring at each other across a no-man's land of cobblestones like opposing armies. The connection is severed. The family unit, the fundamental building block of human society, has been declared invalid within these walls. You are no longer a husband, a father, a son. You are a male pauper. She is a female pauper. The children are juvenile paupers. The labels are everything now. The porter barks a new order, and your group of men is turned and marched away towards the workyards. You don't look back. You can't. The sound of the women and children being led in the opposite direction is a wound that will not heal. The physical labor that awaits you will be a relief, a numbness to distract from the much deeper, more profound pain that has just been inflicted on your soul. The workhouse hasn't just taken your freedom and your comfort. It has taken your heart and locked it away where you can never reach it again. This brutal system was the reality for millions. It's a chilling reminder of how societies have dealt with poverty, and a vital part of our history to understand. The separation still feels like a fresh wound as we're marched out, not to a warm fire, but into a huge, open yard behind the workhouse. The first thing that hits you isn't the cold, it's the sound. A relentless, chaotic percussion of metal on stone. This is the stone-breaking yard, and the bell hasn't rung for work to start, because here, the work never stops. It's the very heartbeat of this miserable place. The yard is a landscape of pure, functional misery. Under a sky the color of dirty slate, massive granite blocks are stacked like ancient, rough-hewn pyramids. Between them are smaller mounds of the finished product, jagged, hand-sized fragments. The ground itself is a treacherous carpet of stone dust and sharp chips that work their way into your clogs, grinding against your already raw blisters. The air is thick with a fine grey powder that coats your throat and your lungs. You breathe grit. You taste granite. Every single breath is a small, abrasive event. A taskmaster, a man built like an ox with the dead eyes of a fish, points us towards a pile of tools. These aren't the balanced, sturdy hammers of a proper quarryman. They're misshapen, worn-down things, their handles splintered, their heads chipped and uneven. They're heavy in all the wrong ways, designed to waste your energy with every single swing. I'm assigned a block of granite, a sledgehammer, and a metal measuring box. The rule is simple, brutal, and utterly impossible. I have to fill this box with broken stone of a specific size by the end of the day. If I don't, my rations are cut. The box just sits there, a silent, mocking judge of my worth. I heft the hammer. The weight is alien, and an immediate, sharp pain shoots through my soft, unaccustomed hands. I position myself in front of the granite block, my cold, unfeeling opponent, and I swing. The impact jolts up my arms, vibrating through my elbows and into my shoulders. A stinging pain blossoms in my palms. I look down. The skin is already bright red. Another swing. Another jarring shock. A blister forms, then pops, leaving a raw, weeping patch of flesh. I wipe my hands on my coarse trousers, the wool grinding the grit deeper into the open wound. The granite block, for all my effort, has only a faint white scratch to show for it. This isn't work. It's a conversation between my fragile body and this implacable stone, and the stone is winning. The rhythm of the yard is its own special kind of torture. It's not a synchronized beat, but a maddening, discordant cacophony. To my left, an old man swings with a slow, desperate regularity, his breath a ragged whistle. To my right, a younger man attacks his block with a frantic, inefficient fury, his swings wild and exhausting. The noise is a constant brain-numbing assault, the high-pitched ping of a misstrike, the deep, dull thud of a solid hit, the skittering clatter of fragments cascading away. There is no conversation. Talking is forbidden. There is only the hammer, the stone, and the growing, screaming pain in my hands, my back, my arms. The taskmaster walks the lines. He doesn't need to shout. His presence is enough. He stops to examine another man's measuring box, shaking his head with a grim satisfaction. He says nothing, just makes a note in his little book. The man's shoulders slump, all the fight draining right out of him. He knows what that note means. Less gruel. A hungrier, weaker tomorrow, which means an even harder time filling the box the next day. It's a perfect, vicious circle of defeat. Fear lends a desperate strength to my aching muscles. I swing the hammer again. A sharp fragment of stone flies up and catches me on the cheek, drawing a thin line of blood. I don't even bother to wipe it away. The sting is just one more note in this symphony of pain. Hours pass. Or maybe it's minutes. Time loses all meaning in the monotony of impact and agony. My world has shrunk to the space between my hammer and this block. My hands are a mess of raw meat and blood, the handle of the hammer now sticky with it. Every swing is a fresh agony. My back is a solid sheet of fire, my muscles screaming in protest with the slightest twist. The stone dust has caked my face, mixing with sweat and blood to form a gritty paste. I feel like I'm becoming part of the yard, a moving statue of dust and pain. I look at my measuring box. It's barely a quarter full. A cold panic grips me, colder than the morning air. I can't do this. It is physically impossible. This system isn't designed for me to succeed. It's designed for me to fail, to be punished, and to be constantly reminded of my worthlessness. The bell finally rings for the midday break. The hammering falters and then stops, leaving a ringing silence in my ears that's almost as loud as the noise was. I drop my hammer. My fingers refuse to uncurl properly. They're locked into a claw-like grip. I stare at my pathetic pile of broken stone, then at the immense, unyielding block. I've achieved almost nothing, and I have to come back and do it all over again this afternoon. The stone will still be here. The taskmaster will still be here. The measuring box will still be empty. This is my life now. A Sisyphus in a grey uniform, pushing a rock that doesn't even have the decency to roll downhill. The only thing being broken here isn't the stone, it's me. While the men are sent to the stone yard, their world a symphony of crashing rock, you and the other women are led in the opposite direction. Not into the open air, but into a different kind of hell. You're filed into a long, low-ceilinged room that smells of the sea, but it's the smell of something long dead and rotting. Welcome to the picking room. Your task, your punishment for the crime of being a destitute woman, is to unpick the very threads that hold the British Empire together. The air is thick with a foul, salty dampness that clings to your throat. It's the smell of tar, of old rope, of decay. The room is dim, lit only by a few high, grimy windows. They let in just enough grey light to illuminate the dancing motes of dust and fibre you're about to breathe in for the next 8 hours. You're shown to a wooden bench, one in a long row, each facing a large, coarse sack. At the front stands the matron, a woman whose face is a permanent mask of disapproval. She doesn't need to raise her voice. The silence in the room is absolute, broken only by the faint, tearing sound of fibre. You look into your sack. It's filled with old, discarded ship's rope, thick as a man's wrist, hardened into stiff, unyielding coils by years of seawater sun and layers of pungent black tar. This is oakum. Your job is to pick it apart, to take these formidable ropes and reduce them to a pile of soft, fluffy fibres. These fibres will be sold to shipyards for caulking, stuffing into the seams of wooden ships to make them watertight. The Royal Navy, the pride of the Empire, literally floats on the pain of paupers like you. You're given a metal spike, sometimes called a jigger or a pricker. It's cold, heavy and sharp. There are no gloves. You take a section of the tarred rope. It's like trying to bend petrified wood. You jam the spike into the end, trying to find a purchase, to separate the individual strands. The tar, which might have once been pliable in the sun, is now a brittle, sticky shell that cracks and splinters, sending sharp, black shards into the air. You twist the spike, leveraging it with all your strength. A few fibres give way with a dry, tearing sound. That's it. That is the entire process for 8 hours a day. Within minutes, your fingers are a disaster. The tar smears over everything, blackening your skin, working its way under your nails until they're rimmed with black. The rough hemp fibres are like thousands of tiny needles, embedding themselves in your fingertips. The sharp edges of the tar crust cut into your skin. Your hands that once soothed a child's fever or kneaded dough, are quickly becoming raw, bleeding, blackened claws. Every tiny movement is agony. You try to wipe them on your apron, but it just smears the tar deeper into the open wounds. The pain becomes a constant low-level shriek from your hands, a miserable counterpoint to the tearing sound of the oakum. The matron walks the aisles. Her eyes are everywhere, missing nothing. She stops behind one woman, a young girl who can't be more than 16. The girl's hands are shaking so badly she can barely hold the spike. The matron doesn't say a word. She simply picks up the girl's half-empty sack of picked oakum, weighs it in her hand with a contemptuous sneer, and makes a note in her little book. The girl flinches as if she's been struck. She knows what that note means. Reduced rations, less of the already insufficient gruel. She bows her head, and a single silent tear cuts a clean path through the grime on her cheek, dripping onto the blackened rope in her lap. There is no conversation. The rule of silence is even more strictly enforced here than in the men's yards. The only sounds are the repetitive, maddening ones. The scrape of the metal spike, the rip of the fibres, the occasional sharp intake of breath as someone inevitably drives the spike into their own palm. The monotony is a form of brain death. There's no skill to learn, no rhythm to find, no satisfaction in a job well done. There is only the endless, painful, futile unpicking. With nothing else to occupy it, your mind turns inward. It circles your worries like a vulture. Worries about your children, your husband, your own crumbling future. The despair here isn't just an emotion. It's a physical presence, as thick in the air as the tar dust you're forced to breathe, and you are breathing it. With every tear of the rope, a cloud of fine black particles rises. You inhale it, it coats your lungs. The women who have been here for years have a characteristic racking cough, deeper and wetter than the men's. A cough that sounds like it's trying to bring up something solid from the depths of their chests. They call it oakum picker's lung. It's a death sentence earned one fibre at a time. You can feel the grit on your teeth, taste the sour tang of tar at the back of your tongue. This work isn't just breaking your hands, it's slowly poisoning you from the inside out. You look at the pile of picked oakum in your lap. It's pitifully small. Fluffy, grey-brown, and innocent-looking, it gives no hint of the agony required to produce it. Then you glance at the immense, unyielding coil of tarred rope, still in your sack. You've barely made a dent. The bell for the dinner break feels a lifetime away. Your hands scream, your back aches from hunching over, your lungs burn, and you have to do it all over again this afternoon. And tomorrow, and the day after that, in this dim, stinking room, you aren't just unpicking rope. You are unpicking your own sanity, your health, your very future. One painful, blackened fibre at a time. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this glimpse into the past insightful, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories from history. We'll see you in the next one.